Well, they're not the kids start.
Well, because the attorney's perpetually chronically late.
They're
So
too
I
nice.
set it at 10, thinking we're starting at 10:15. I don't want to get there.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting to order. All right, was it properly posted? Yes. Right. Agenda, we have a 17-point agenda. I would entertain a motion to.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by McKee, second by Renish. Any discussion on the agenda? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 4, minutes from the October 6th, 2023 Public Safety Meeting. All right, motion by McKee, second by Renish. Any discussion on those minutes? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Corner updates. I see you gave us 2 months worth
Yes,
there. Do you want to just quick go over that?
yes, I'm, sorry, I was in the wrong month, so it wasn't gonna do you much good. Maybe,
Do you want me to do it?
got it.
You got it.
12 calls in September, 10 cremation and 2 traditional burial. Age ranged from 40 to 101. Cause of death included 1 pending toxicology and histology, 1 accident, 2 dementia, 2 neurological disorders, 2 respiratory disorders, and 4 heart-related. For comparison, our office was at 101 calls at the end of September. We're at the end of September, we're at 90 calls. We were at 90 calls at the same time last year, 85 calls 10 years ago, 76 calls 20 years ago. October, 15 calls in October, all the cremations, ages ranged from 43 to 99. Cause of death included 6 heart-related, 2 cancer, 3 respiratory disorders, 2 Alzheimer's and dementia, 1 accident, and 1 neurological disorder. We're at 116 calls this time last year, 90 calls, 116 calls at the end of October, 90 calls this time last year.
So we're having a rough year, currently. All right. Thank you. That brings us to Circuit Court Judge update comments.
Hey, good morning. I guess I haven't been in here. What happened to the microphones? Oh, so
They're apparently pick up sound very, very well.
all right, nice. So we should not be whispering to one another.
Yeah, apparently they can
pick up
hear.
all our conversation.
Good. Well, good morning. Thank you for allowing me to participate and to give a little bit of a report. So remain very busy. I remain very busy as circuit court judge, as has been explained in the past, because we're a one-judge county. When other one-judge counties that are around us have need for a judge, often that means we have to go out of county. And in April, we had a couple of elections where the DAs of that county were voted to be circuit court judge, including Vernon County. And so Tim Gaskell, who was the longtime DA in Vernon County, became judge. What that means for us is that all of the cases that were pending or in his office, out of his office when he was DA, he cannot preside over those. So there were a very large number of those cases that came to me because, of course, we're only 45 minutes from Vernon County. So in the last few months, I think we've decided I got about 150 out-of-county cases, which means that I've got a lot of time now that I've spent out of county, which means that's less time to schedule things here and do things here. But we're working through those. We already went through this once. I feel like I'm a pro at it because when I first started, the same thing happened out of Iowa County because Matt Allen, who was the DA there, became judge. So I got a lot of Iowa County cases. And we were able to work through those. And I think after about a year, we got through most of those. So we'll get through this as well. We continue to convene the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee and the Courthouse Security Committee. The Courthouse Security Committee meeting will meet on December 5th, I believe. We had talked at the last public safety meeting about moving that up a little bit, and we were just not able to get that done. So we will meet on December 5th, continue our conversations about courthouse security and the needs in the courthouse in that regard. We certainly welcome participation by anybody and everybody who has any sort of interest or stake in that particular topic. We have had ongoing and even some recent security concerns with individuals in the courthouse, and that have been kind of interesting, and it just continues to highlight the need for us to update and see it as an ongoing issue that needs to be solved. So we did recently have on October 10th the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee meeting, which of course is a committee meant to bring together all the stakeholders in the criminal justice system in the county and talk about issues that either overlap or affect all of us and how we can better coordinate those efforts and including the county's treatment court, which the Criminal Justice Coordinating Committee is the designated oversight committee for our county's treatment court. So when we met on October 10, we went through and talked about a number of different things. I'll just quickly highlight those for you. We talked about the idea of adding some diversion programs, which would allow diversion out of the criminal justice system for people who really don't need to enter the criminal justice system because they will probably never reoffend or they just have a problem that needs to be solved. So it was nice to have that discussed in a roundtable fashion, and we'll continue to discuss that. We talked about how things are being done in other counties, including, for example, and this is just a real life example of what we deal with, how to help people get their driver's licenses back if they lost their driver's license because it was revoked or suspended for a number of different reasons, failure to pay fines or because of an OWI or whatever reason. And a lot of people have difficulty navigating the system, and so there are programs in other counties that help people do that. So it would be nice to help our citizens in that regard and get people lawfully licensed. We talked about treatment court, which at this point in our treatment court, we have, we're getting close to capacity. Capacity in treatment court is 15 participants. I think right now we have about 12 or 13, and we have some applications. And we talked about things that are of interest and needing discussion with regard to treatment court and treatment court policies, including because we are for the first time nearing capacity in treatment court, what to do with a wait list and how to deal with folks on a wait list in a way that's fair, equitable for everybody. We talked about the idea of potentially charging fees to participants in treatment court. We have not done that. There are other counties that do that to some degree, and the pros and cons of charging fees to participants in treatment court. We are going to meet again on January 9. And we talked about what we need to continue to discuss, and that would include the idea of some of these diversion programs, of course, treatment court and the policies there. And as the state of the courthouse as well, we're going to discuss at the next committee meeting in terms of the needs of the criminal justice system. And of course, that is, there's an interplay between that and courthouse security. So it's a good and pertinent and topic for today and this season that we appear to be in. I will just happily report that it looks like our bat problem is getting a little better. So I know that in past meetings, I had lamented the fact that we have a lot of bats. People probably don't know that. And we can see evidence of it every day because we see bat droppings on the chairs and things like that. But I know that that's been addressed a little bit, and Randy has done a lot of work in different respects to try to deter the bats, including, I guess, recently there was some bat houses put up around the courthouse, so hopefully that will, I give the bats an alternative residence, so. All right, that's about all I have to say. Any questions?
Do you know what time on the 5th?
8:30,
8:30.
and it'll be here in the county boardroom.
Okay. You'll send out an email though.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll get it on my calendar. All right. All right, any questions? All right, that brings us to 7, clerk of court updates. She did send us a brief email.
So just as an update this morning, she was going to try and WebEx in, but she had a rough night and was really not feeling well this morning. So Stacy's not going to WebEx in this morning. She just said to me, if you have any questions, to reach out to her by phone or email. She came in and did month end yesterday and did what had to be done, but just was not feeling very well.
All right, so that brings us to probate. Would you like to?
So I guess I'll start real quick with budget. Right now I'm at 74% as through October 31st, 74% of the budget. So still feeling pretty comfortable with all of the attorney fees coming in. I think I'm hopeful, optimistic that they'll be a little bit less this year and we'll be right on track. So I know there's a lot of things out of my control on that, but just the way some of the cases are going that cost us a lot of money last year are resolving and coming to a closer end, which means less time that the attorneys are working on it and less court time. So
Are they being better about billing you?
they are getting
Timely?
better about billing us more timely too, so they're not all hitting at the end of the year too, but that is still a little bit of an issue. So that's all good. The revenue is on track as well, just for what we bring in from probate cases. That hasn't changed too much. Then I just wanted to add a little bit about what the judge said. The one thing I'm noticing on the out of county, we're getting a few more jury trials than we have had in the past, even from Judge Sharp and even from Judge McDougall. There's more seriousness. So just to give you just a real quick example, Judge McDougall will likely have a 2-week homicide trial in Iowa County coming up in February if it goes as scheduled. So that the seriousness of those types of cases, we have not had a lot. We're starting to see those in Iowa, in Richland, and Vernon. So there's more, it seems like, so right now on her schedule, off the top of my head, I can tell you she's got a 2-day Vernon County jury trial coming up, a 2-week jury trial coming up in Iowa County, and several are scheduled in January and March as well. Some of those might settle, but it sounds like these two are very likely to go. That's what seems different this time, is that taking her out of county for a 2-week shot where she's doing other, so, and even 2 days, you wouldn't think it would impact Richland County that much, but it does. So.
Didn't we have 3 murders in Richland County this year? Isn't that unusual? I can think of 2 for sure, the campground and the one at
It's
on the
2
river.
murders in Richland County.
Just 2, which that's unusual, isn't that?
Yeah, that's
Unusual.
that's unusual.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something in the water in Iowa County, so just not, if you go there, don't drink the water, because they seem to have a lot
Yeah,
of.
Bad things going on? Yeah.
we went a long time without any, so.
Yeah, well,
They're right at
That's what it is.
151 coming out of Madison. I think they get
There's some
a
of
lot
that.
of transits.
There's that corridor between Dubuque and Madison at 151.
in Iowa County.
Yeah.
That doesn't explain our 2.
Oh,
All right, anyway, I mean, I'm not making light of that. It's a bad thing. But it's just very strange
Yeah.
what's happening.
So that, yeah, I just wanted to kind of give you, some, again, specific examples of the amount of time that some of these cases take. The other thing, so I also handle the emergency detentions, which are in the old language are mental cases. We are, that is, I feel like that is increasing as well. The mental health among people is increasing. And I feel like you can see it in the courtroom a little bit more than we ever have before. I'm thankful that we now have signs that say no large bags in the courtroom. We're doing some wanding. I'm thankful that that is being implemented. I mean, we are changing things as we go, and I feel like it is helpful. I've had 3 individuals that think that we specifically made these changes for them. I'm like, well, I'm glad you think it was just for you, but that's all right. So they are noticing, people that come in the courthouse are noticing, but we have had some more challenging clientele, I would say, in the last month than we've had in recent times. So, and maybe Clay will speak to that more, but I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention a little bit, that
So the courthouse security committee needs to keep sort of chipping away at things that we can do, that we have the ability to do.
yes.
Yeah, the wanding I think has been helpful, and the checking the bags has been helpful. It's a little.
People knowing that they might have that happen can change behavior as well. So.
Right.
It's a little bit clunky because, people coming in and then they have to be stopped and pushed back out and wanded. And then, yeah, it's a little bit, something we gotta, work through the kinks, but I think it's good. It's needed.
And just to update on that, Clay and I have met on this and we have been talking about options, and he is looking into some additional options. He's been talking with other counties. I've asked other county administrators, what are you doing for your courthouse security? What does it look like? How is it functioning? So we are continuing to have those discussions and work on this because we both do feel like it is important.
One of the biggest issues, if you don't mind me, is, like you said, the clunkiness is because we have 2 entrances into the courtroom. So if you're over screening people at one entrance and then somebody comes into the other door, you gotta go across to check them. And it's just, there's not a good, one of the ideas I thought, and probably get a little off topic here, but was like, are we gonna have to shut down that main stairwell by the DA's office? Because if we can funnel everybody in through the one door, we can screen them right outside that one door.
Yeah.
But it's the things we got to figure out and work through, and probably be topics for the security meeting.
Yeah.
And the drawback of that, I would almost say, let's just do that. But the drawback of that is if we're holding a confidential hearing in the large courtroom, and then there's another simultaneous hearing being held in the small courtroom, they're not technically supposed to, no one is supposed to go through the large courtroom while the
They
confidential
have to come on
hearing.
the other side.
Yeah, so they have to come through the side. So it could be, that.
So on those days you have both sides open, but the other days it's closed?
Yeah, I mean, you might have, depending on certain days, and it can be random. I mean, there's nothing that says that,
It has to be the same way into the entrance to the courtroom every day.
right.
Another solution to that is to rearrange things a little bit and move that small courtroom so that people don't have to go there, but that's
Probably a much
topic for another
more
day.
complicated
Yeah,
than just shutting off a stairwell. I can see being able to shut that stairwell off
right, yeah.
when needed.
Yeah.
And then leave it open if you have to have it open.
Mhm.
Right.
You could just put a simple grate across it or something. So
Yeah.
that on the days that they can't.
Yeah, you could put, a black and gold cord, or, and a sign that says closed personnel only or something, and, there'd be that they, but most people would abide by
But
that.
it would, yeah, we would, to respect,
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anything else from probate? Questions? All right, thank you. District Attorney, I didn't get anything from her, so I don't see her online, so we're gonna assume. And then I did get a message from Darren saying he's gonna be a little late, he has a FEMA or something, so we'll skip 10, possibly come back to that, and that also means we'll probably skip 11, or do you have any information on the PSAP and GIS grant updates, or Barb, do you?
We do. We did.
I haven't slumped.
We did not receive the PSAP grant,
I have a sheriff.
Okay,
but we did receive the GIS.
well, that's interesting. I
Yeah.
feel like we
That
got way
just
more
means-
done on our PSAP one this year.
And
I
speaking
haven't
with Darren,
forwarded that to me, because I didn't
Oh,
see
I
the
know, I can.
piece.
Darren, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, and he feels like it was maybe a little overly ambitious And so he's got some information and some stuff that he's gonna leave us with for the next time we go to apply.
So is the committee all aware that Darren Gudgeon's accepted a position as the Regional Emergency Management Director? Just making sure everybody knows that. So he will be leaving, this is today's last day?
It's his last day, but he
Yeah.
will be giving us 2 hours every Friday up until the end of the year. He'll come check in. He has a really thorough transition plan laid out. We're very well covered. He's done an outstanding job. And I'm very appreciative of him and the way he's made sure to manage all of that forward.
Plus, as Regional Director, part of his job duties is to help us in a transition with emergency management. The challenge for us as a county will be he is currently half-time EMS and half-time Emergency Management Director, and we're gonna have to make some decisions about moving forward, whether we will try to hire a combined position, which seems pretty unlikely that we might find someone who happens to be interested in both things. And then that means we'd have to split the position and what that means as far as personnel. So we'll have some discussions moving forward. The ambulance committee obviously will have their discussions, and we will have those discussions as well from the emergency management side. All right, so that brings us to the sheriff's department.
Well, I think just to piggyback off earlier comments, we've had, at the sheriff's office in general, we've had some interactions with a particular individual recently. I would say things could have gotten pretty volatile and did not.
In the courthouse or?
Just our interactions in general on patrol,
Mm.
which kind of led me to email department heads and let them know, just make them aware who this person is and what he looks like. Because for the most part, he's unhappy with services that we provide as but he started showing up in the courthouse more often, making other offices feel uncomfortable. And so we started having discussions about stepping up security practices. So we did. We started, but the signs went up almost immediately for no large bags in the courtroom. And I gave direction to the courthouse staff, or my courthouse staff, to start wanting people and searching bags. And if people were uncomfortable leaving or not coming with or coming without their bag, that they could leave, basically is what my direction was.
And we have authority to say what we have
Yeah.
complete authority about what can be brought in. Okay, there's no question about their rights to bring something in.
Right,
Okay,
if it's on the door, I mean, if
as long as
it's.
it's posted what the requirement, like what is and is not allowed.
So we put that in place. Currently, that individual is residing in the jail, so it's not an issue at this time. But this isn't the first instance and the only person that's raised concern, so.
Yeah, and it would be much better to address it now before we have something catastrophic happen.
We do have one more, I haven't had a chance to touch base with you, but we have another that I just want you to be aware of.
Was it the the treasurer's office spoke with me about? Okay, that's.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Fun times.
Yes, so, and as Candace indicated, we're looking into other options that may be beneficial to increasing security. So, yeah, we're trying to get caught up with the times, I guess is what I would say. We needed to make some changes and we're starting to implement. So, yeah.
Sorry, I just have a quick question for Barb. So there's no camera for the people online to see us?
Yeah.
I just all of a sudden realized that those people are just staring at black screen, which is a little strange. Sorry.
That's
No.
my fault.
Yeah.
I'm not used to.
That just seems a little bit better. Otherwise, I feel like if you're online, it's weird that you're just talking to a black
I can
screen.
see it. I
Yeah.
know.
No, my apologies. I'm sorry for that.
All right, so
All right.
sorry, Sheriff. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, so we are still struggling to hire, people. We still have that open position in the jail. We do have a female applicant, so we'll have to start moving forward with that pretty soon, but, a female applicant, so.
So I did hear that we had a lot of applicants for administrative positions.
We do.
So I'm wondering if there's a way we could possibly entice some of those applicants. I'm sure it's scheduling and because they're applying for 9-to-5 jobs, and this is not a 9-to-5 job.
Well, it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I know, but maybe they don't know about those positions. You never know,
Evening administrator.
right?
But I will say, just in regard to that, I had a very interesting call with Carlson Detman. It was very, very enlightening, and again, highlights the urgency and the need to do a comp and class study. And I will be presenting that to finance and personnel next week. So
Do
that.
you think it's money?
I think money is part
Part
of
of
it. We're closely or quickly approaching a scenario where we're not gonna be competitive. Because of what Department of Corrections is doing, because of what Dane County has done, and now the surrounding counties are following suit, and it's gonna push out.
I mean, it's, same story I've been hearing for the last
Yeah.
years.
So, I think that's part of it. We're also exploring other options as far as if there's maybe some different benefit structures or something like that that we can bring forward for discussion. I mean, we're kind of looking at everything as well as, one thing we've talked about doing but haven't really done is actively recruiting in the schools. And I think, depending on how young you go, sometimes that brings its own challenges, but at this point, we need to try everything.
So what about the concept of, do we want to go back to the idea of separating jail and dispatch? I know that the one county that did it, you said they couldn't find people to fill all the positions, right?
And that would be my concern is I think we have people that, I'm concerned with what would happen with our experience levels here currently and how they would split. That may cause us challenges. But my biggest concern is I can't hire anybody today. And how am I going to get people to fill those positions tomorrow?
Well, but do you think it'd be easier to fill if they weren't having to do both jail and dispatch? Or do you think most of the people that you're hiring really don't have any idea of the challenges of either of those things, and it's not really a factor?
I think
Once they get in the
I think
position, they
it's-
might realize it's a factor, but
I think it's an even mix of people, because I'm getting an even mix of people who don't have experience in the field and people who either do or are, this is their goal is to get into law enforcement. This is
a stepping stone.
Yeah.
So what are we advertising?
Whatever the current, 23 something, whatever the current, step 2 is.
23 something?
I'd have to look. I had it was advertised. I'd have to.
23.
Actually, I have the wage scale up.
So $23 an hour, and we can't get people to apply.
When the DOC is what, 33?
And if you have, the other thing they threw in there is if you have experience and you're working in a high vacancy, high occupancy prison, it's almost $45 an hour or something like that.
Which, I mean, that is a stark difference.
Yeah.
We have to be clear on that.
Well, and like I said, that's with experience, that's
Right.
a certain condition in the facility, whether it's high occupancy or high vacancy of positions. So they have a formula based on how that all works, but.
So you have some thoughts on how we can play with the benefits?
There's some things we've been discussing is trying to make a benefits package that's more enticing. The issue is with that, if we do that, what's going to be the expectation of the rest of the departments?
And that is, I mean, equity is huge. And, when you start messing with, and we already have compression issues within our pay scale simply because of the fact that wages haven't been consistently updated and certain departments have been allowed to reclassify and others just haven't done it. And so we've got, and I mean, in my call, those were questions I asked of Carlson Detman, and the answers I got were, like I said, pretty alarming. They really haven't gone out and looked for new data. They haven't utilized new data. They're still living in 2018. And when I asked specifically about the ambulance service because of the $14 an hour wage, They said, well, none of your benchmarks had them, so we just estimate based on the models we can import. Well, so they
That we
didn't go
paid
out
so
and find the
much
data.
for.
I knew some of that stuff sounded crazy.
So again, I don't know that the data that they've been using to evaluate the positions we currently have is really helpful to us at all. So,
My
So-
conversations with people like in Vernon County and just in the general public and being an employer, I think we need to look at vacation time. A lot of people are motivated by more time off.
the young people especially, that is a generational difference.
Vernon County has, I don't know what you start out at. They redid theirs a couple of years ago. They did everything. And you start out with 2 or 3 weeks vacation.
No, there are other ways we can incentivize, and those are things that we can explore and, look at those changes that we can make that have much less of a fiscal impact
Right.
than wages do, but they do significantly increase job satisfaction. So,
Yeah.
there are some
Great
strategies.
scheduling.
Yeah. So like, as an example, one of the suggestions was, let's stop forcing them to cash out their comp time, let them carry it over to the new year. Sticking point on that is that if they take a different position, get a big raise, whatever, now, if they cash it out, they're getting paid out at a higher rate than what they earned it at.
Oh,
So,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's ways to work that out though.
It's really difficult to try to track when you earn comp time and consistently keep that without a system. And that's why the annual payout is helpful, because then they're getting paid out the rate that they earned the time. Because it can be significant. I've seen people get paid out double.
Right. So the problem with the jail, however, is that if we don't fill these positions and we don't meet our minimum standard of staffing, we have to house prisoners or inmates outside of county.
yes,
But
And
right
that-
now, we're not at risk of that. We're down one position, correct?
we're down one position and
So how many positions would it, where's the tipping point?
I think, we can get by a little bit better, I think now than, I hate to say that too, because if we get down too far, the 12-hour shifts is really gonna tax, working 12-hour shifts already is already gonna tax people. I would say probably, we've been down 3 before, I'd say if we get down below 3,
So 2 more positions?
yeah,
Because the jail inspector again reminded us that we have the 3-3-2
yeah.
pattern that we need to maintain.
Yeah, I'd say when we hit that 3 mark and beyond, that's when we're gonna really struggle. So I hope that doesn't happen. It's been a long time since we've been that far now.
Yeah, because I was looking at the budget and it looks like overtime in the jail hasn't actually been that bad.
And I think that partly due
Remembering
to the
correctly.
12-hour shifts
Is what's helped that?
is helping, yeah.
So just to clarify, so our, step 2 is 2325. And then step 8 is 2642, and that's at the current 2023 scale without the 5% adjustment. So that will go up,
Mhm.
which definitely can't hurt us. But again, I sort of argue with the increase in insurance costs this year. It's really a lot.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and that's something that, again, we're taking a look at as well, to the insurance. Because I think that affects recruitment and retention as well, and I have some thoughts on how we can improve the insurance program and the incentives that go along with it for the people that will take the insurance. And I've had discussions with 4 consultants so far and continue to have those.
The unfortunate thing that though with that pay raise though is with the protective status, the protective status is going to eat that pay raise entirely. They're actually gonna,
If they take it,
yeah. I mean, if you have plans of staying in this career at all,
then you want to, but
Yeah.
and WCA is going to do a 15-minute educational video. And so we're gonna deal with that, and then we'll have those conversations individually too.
Okay.
Because I think there are important things that depending on where you're at in your career, it
Will
will
guide your
impact
decision.
it. Yeah, so.
Yep.
But yes, there is that as well.
So, yeah, so all those things, I mean, well, like I said, we're kind of brainstorming as administration here of what we can do differently to try and entice more applicants. And we'll bring, if there's a suggestion we need board approval for, or Candace's approval for, we'll bring it forward. So, all right, on to the report. October, we had $22,027.50 in vouchers, 74 for jail bookings, so pretty good increase there. Average number of inmates housed was 37.67, and average number on electronic monitoring is 4.
That didn't, by the way, that didn't make it onto that report didn't make it into our
Okay.
big, at least I don't see it.
They must, did you email it to us?
No, I just
No.
put it on there.
That, they don't have their iPads for a month?
Oh,
Yeah, so it
You
has
know,
to go onto the
everything
web.
Has to go onto the web.
Oh.
all right.
Okay, sorry, it's okay, keep going.
446 complaints on the month, 64 citations issued, 29 process served, and 16 transports. The jail activity or dispatch activity was 693 calls for service, 113 calls for EMS, and 98 calls for the police department.
So last month, I watched last month's meeting and you talked about how you were having them track their time a little bit better, and that was one of the reasons why the call numbers were so different.
Yes, yep.
So is that, you're still having them do
We're still doing that. Yeah, that's going to be continuing.
ongoing?
Yeah, that was, I think we need to account for our time a little bit better, and so we.
Seems like a good idea, just to get an idea of, yeah,
Yeah, yep.
where people are spending their time.
Looking at the budget overall, it looked like we were hovering right around 80% or just below. So,
Yeah, I had a couple questions on that.
yeah,
Mostly just in the places where we are significantly over budget. Did you use that information when you made 2024's budget to make sure your numbers were a little bit better? So for example, well, I mean, overtime, we never seem to put as much money in overtime as we might as well put in there what it's gonna be, because we always go over. I mean, you're $22,000 over in overtime for sheriff's department.
and thinking back on our discussions when we were budgeting, I believe we did add.
And then in the jail, you know, the jail, they're significantly over in the meals.
Yeah,
So
We
you
did.
did put in the more realistic amount for that too. I just want to make sure that we're budgeting, you know. And then the other question I had on the budget was, so on the revenues, I was noticing not only, you know, were we over in some of our categories in our expenditures, but then we're significantly behind on some of these revenue ones. And I wasn't sure if some of these come in late or,
so one of the revenues that I will say.
I know sanctions.
Sanctions is one,
Yeah.
but on the flip side of sanctions is a revenue we did not account for the year, which was the Little Rock contract. So I'm not gonna say that's gonna make up.
Is that-
but
Is that active yet?
yeah, we.
Is it in this report
I
somewhere? I
don't
guess
think there's a sheet on it. I'll have to talk to Katie.
to have them included in your
Yeah,
report?
yeah.
Okay.
But we have,
Yeah.
we have been receiving monthly payment for that, so.
And did you budget money in the K-9 fund this year? Because I noticed that we had quite a few expenditures in K-9, but nothing budgeted for
We
it.
don't budget for the K-9.
That's all
Never?
It's all
donation-based.
donation. Well, and the grant too. That's that
So-
grant.
Yeah, so one thing I've emailed Candace about recently is there was the exact name of the grant is slipping me, but it was a law enforcement, public safety grant from Governor Evers.
Uh-huh.
We were awarded, if I don't know the exact dollar amount,
I'll find the email.
28,000, that's pretty close.
Mhm.
Some of the things we were looking at doing with refunding, one of the allowable expenses is K-9.
So why don't we have a budget for K-9 instead of just doing a donation?
Well, what I was thinking was is we could submit our invoice for K9A run to that grant is, it'll eat up a portion of the grant. And then we reimburse
The donation fund, okay,
from that.
right.
And then the rest.
Yeah,
of the
because that
stuff-
did bring that fund down a lot, because he was.
Yeah, they're expensive.
They are,
Yeah.
but on the other hand, I mean, they both become an integral part. We would not have them anymore.
Yeah,
So, I mean, you know, as far as only relying on donation, I feel like maybe we need to change that discussion, that we need to support that as a county.
I will say, like, probably nationally, probably 90% of the K9s nationally are funded through donations.
Which I don't mind
Yeah.
doing some of it through donation. I think that's wonderful, but I'm saying I would hate to I would hate to not have a canine because we couldn't get the donations, is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Yep.
And so having some county funding seems appropriate to me.
Yep.
But
So the law enforcement agency grant that you received, bless you, and it was $28,668.50. So that would fund 2024 and potentially 2025, according to what Clay's email said. And then Lone Rock could actually use a portion of that to pay some of their contracts. So
Yep. So,
okay. I just wanted to make sure that on these categories that we seem to kind of
Yeah.
continuously overspend every year, that we're trying to be better about making sure we
that's
actually.
one thing we have been adjusting year after year
Yeah.
is we've been trying to get more accurate.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if the overtime, because we didn't start the 12/12 until what month this year?
July, August.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see as we go forward how that helps with the overtime.
you do anticipate that will reduce.
That was part of it, yeah, and it looks in the jail like we're doing pretty well. I mean, I think only like a few thousand over, 4,500 over our budgeted amount in overtime in the jail, but we're 22,000 over on the road.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, is some of that traffic grant that we get reimbursed for?
Yeah.
So that's when it's deceiving, so I don't even know what I'm looking at. Okay.
And probably,
I thought we didn't get the traffic grant this year.
I'm trying to think of how much traffic
We
grant,
did? Okay.
how much money in traffic grant we had this year,
Was
but
it
it's
20?
probably a decent portion of that
Okay.
traffic grant.
All right, well, that makes me feel better.
Just kind of we are going to be changing our accounting structure a little bit, and it will make it, I think, a lot easier for everyone to see the grant funds that we've been allocated and what we're utilizing.
Yeah, because right now it's hard to track it because it comes as an expenditure, but then you have to know that there's a matching revenue in order to really.
And so that our
reconcile that.
financial system will help as well. But just changing the account codes and the way that we're functioning, even within the 400, will make it more clear for everyone. So.
Okay, so back to the bills. Sorry. Sidebar again.
So, yeah, monthly bills. Does anybody have any questions about the bills this month?
No, other than there's gonna need to be more and more bolds on there, which need to be
Yeah.
overspent. I mean, we know about the meals for prisoners because we've been over on that one for a while. I mean, I'm assuming that many of these have to do with, like, it's care of prisoners and ambulance, HHS, all that has to do probably because we have more inmates, we're spending more money to maintain and keep them healthy and
Yeah.
all of those things. So that's why we've overspent.
Wait, what's the Department of Justice time?
Somewhat every year.
Oh, yeah, time system fees. So that's our information system where we run like license plates, wanted persons, all that stuff.
Every year we
Yep.
do that. Yep. All right, any questions on the bills?
Let's pay a statement to Charter. I believe the answer's gonna be no.
I think so.
We just thought I was finding the vote.
What's a
Yes.
future bill?
Maybe no.
Right.
Bill for,
I believe it's mandated that we provide cable services to the inmates.
oh,
And Charter has been providing them free since the beginning of time. This morning they shut the boxes off. They no longer perform.
oh, really?
I got no notice, but I didn't think you were getting a bill for it.
No, I don't think so. That's not that
So
I ever
I'll have to
seen.
quote that service.
Yeah.
All right, so I would entertain a motion to approve the bills. Motion by Renish. Second by- Any discussion on bills? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? All right, bills are approved. All right, so what's next here? Do we want to go back to, what else do you have?
We can go back.
Should we go back to Aaron? I mean Darren.
I have been called worse.
I'm so sorry. All right, so item number 10, emergency management. We did briefly let everyone know the sad news that you're leaving.
Still be in the area, I promise. That'll come any way I can. So I can't access the folder, but I did put in, I think this morning,
None of us can access the
Nobody.
folder.
No.
so the integrated preparedness plan draft is done. I want to present that to you all today. It's based on the surveys, the workshops that we had, meetings with fire chiefs, discussions with Sheriff Porter, Chief Jones, and others. And that document's a part of the deliverable to Johnson Emergency Management as a plan of work item. What we took from that was some of the top priorities were response to active threats. What is the role of a local official when there's a disaster? Business continuity planning, local government, coup planning, and then individual preparedness. So there was 5 priorities, and I'm hoping that Amber can email me the IPP so I can go over it.
If you put it in the folder, I just asked John to upload it, so it'll be on the web.
Is that a document we want on the web? Is this a
If it's
public?
in the folder and we discuss it.
That's draft plan, so whatever.
If you put it out there, that wasn't any material.
And I understand that, but I don't know that it needs to be published on the webpage. But either way, so in there, the area of emphasis we came up with was local units of government, public safety infrastructure for departments, and business industry, healthcare, human service partners, education, and then the public and non-governmental organizations. The priority one that really that kept, being emphasized was active threat incident management. And so over the course of the next 3 years, whoever takes my position, they can use this plan as kind of that roadmap, and they'll work with the courts, the sheriff's department, other public safety officials to identify what levels of training do we need first, and then what workshops should we do, and then build your tabletop, build your functional, and then build your full scale. And I outlined in that in the plan, and I think it's really important that the emphasis be put on doing this in a very deliberate, intentional order. So if we do a full-scale exercise with the courthouse of having an active threat, but yet nobody in this courthouse has actually been trained on how do we act within our office if that happens? How do we, where do we go? Who's responsible? Who's in charge? Plans are going to be enacted. Then you'll fail, and you'll lose buy-in from the public, and you'll lose buy-in from your department heads and your employees. But if you provide them the training, and that training is outlined in here, if you provide some workshops on de-escalation, threat assessment, CRACE, Sheriff's Department, PD can teach, stop the bleed, first aid, CPR, build your plan, share your plan, do a drill on your plan. Then when you do that exercise, now you're really putting everybody on the same playing field, and you can see where are our gaps. And it's not because employees can't say, well, we didn't know, because you would have already shared that with them. Now it's just how does it work versus how is it on paper. So the schedule is for 3 years. For next year, the intent would be to deliver a threat recognition and de-escalation workshop taught locally. Host a ASIM workshop. ASIM stands for Active Shooter Incident Management. It's a 4-hour class. The sheriff has been to it. I've been to it. We can get that coordinated here again. Plan an a courthouse active threat tabletop. And then there's some other training such as incident command system, basic public information officer training, planning for businesses, doing coup planning, that are all part of next year. So fairly aggressive, but could be easily reached as far as those training. And then there'll be offerings on a pretty consistent basis of CRACE training, which is civilian response to an active shooter event, stop the bleed training, and some others. So hopefully you get a chance to look at it. Please share your thoughts with Supervisor Luck Administrator Pesh and John Hyden. And then if they have questions or whatever, they can reach out to me and I can help them with, walk through that. So it was a 11-month process. So, and I myself am pretty pleased with the product that we have out there. So any questions on that?
Do you think that is something, training that we could be doing before we fill the EM position?
Yeah, some of this could actually
Get started.
kick off. I mentioned to Administrator Pesh that some of this is an annual thing. So you have like your OSHA 1910 annual training, your fire drill, your bloodborne pathogens. Doing stop the bleed classes are, yeah, 2 hours. You could incorporate the fundamentals of CRACE and stop the bleed in 2.5 hours. And it could be done by department.
Right, but who would be getting that done? Like, who would be scheduling that to get done?
Well, right now, John is going to attempt to get some of that. He'll be coordinating some of that. The exercise probably won't be able to start developing until the job gets filled, but and Amber is already doing coordination of stop the bleed and first aid training.
I mean, I will say for Darren and his staff, stop the training as serious of a topic as it is. They make it fun. It's interesting. It's it keeps hitting you. So
Interesting.
I mean,
Yeah,
when you
take a little bit of my personality and sprinkle it on top.
yeah.
No,
It's a
Amber
serious
always does a
topic,
good job.
but they do an excellent job with it.
Yeah, so like, I guess the reason I'm asking is that everyone is really busy. And if we don't schedule these and actually put them on a calendar, they tend to not happen. Because I've heard us talk about these things for several years. And I don't know how many of them actually happened. So I guess what I'm interested in is how do we get it scheduled? And who
So-
does that?
Yeah, so I would say probably January 1 of the first of the year. Whether my position's filled out or not, John, working with Administrator Pesh and you, should send out invites to the department heads that have key roles if something were to happen, and get that group together and have the conversation about what is our plan. Review that plan and start to build your tabletop exercise at the same time that group starts, ripping that plan apart and saying, where are the gaps? Just visually looking at it, there are our gaps. And if those gaps are, we need to train our staff on threat recognition, then schedule that threat recognition sooner. And that I would assume would be a coordinated effort between the sheriff, Administrator Pesh, and John.
So I guess, how much time is John willing to, we worked that out? Or are you guys talking after? Okay, to work out as far as how much time he's willing to commit to this?
Yeah.
Okay. And as regional director, do you play any role in what a county is doing as far as these kind of plans and activities?
Yeah, my role would be at your request. The administrator's request, the sheriff's request, and I would come and sit down.
Refreshing right now.
Right, I mean,
Yeah, so I would, my role would be to support that effort in any way I can. I can't necessarily steer us
right,
because it's Richland County's, Courthouse Richland County's plan. But I am certainly allowed to and encouraged to come to the table and help guide that process. And bring whatever resources that I can to the table. And that whether it's in information, institutional knowledge of the program here for the last 20 some years, or other partners that could come in and walk through some of the. So
okay.
in a nutshell, just a phone call, somebody here, and I'll come back and help me.
So I'd like to just make a comment. So I've been to at least 2, if not 3. I went to Stop the Bleed and I've been to some trainings. And I guess, so one comment, the previous trainings, I think were all voluntary. You came if you wanted to come. I was highly impressed with the Stop the Bleed training. It was fun. It was informative. It was hands-on. They had stuff there. So I guess from Candace and for you, I think it should almost be
mandatory?
Well, I don't know if I want to use the mandatory, but at least one representative from each department be there, at least be a priority. Because, whether it's Health and Human Services or even Pine Valley, these people can be unhappy because, they don't have access to a loved one, that was more of an issue during COVID or whatever. But there's reasons why people are unhappy with, the treasurer, with Pine Valley, with Health and Human Services, with the courts. So I think if it was less voluntary and more prioritized, it would be helpful.
I would agree when Darren used the word send out an invite. I didn't think that was proper. It's a mandatory thing.
Volatile.
Yeah, because they need to know how to react in
I
these
don't
situations.
I don't disagree. I think it's really important and, at some points, it may be all hands on deck and it may not even be in your own capacity, but if there's something that you can assist with or perform or do, we would want you there to do that. And at least on the department head level, I think there should be engagement.
And with turnover, it's gotta be at least an annual, I'd like to see biannual, I know it's not. It's gotta be an annual thing.
Yeah, another conversation that Administrator Pench and I had earlier, probably a couple of weeks ago, as we were talking about different things, was your emergency managers that, provides training. We really haven't, I think that individual entities, like the sheriff's department handles the mandated training, but we've missed the mark on some of those things where a lot of places it's annual. Your annual bloodborne pathogens training, your annual, HAZCOM training, like, does everybody in this building know where the SDS sheets are for any chemicals that's in the courthouse? I would bet probably not, because we haven't done that annual training. So it should be, I agree, I'm not gonna use the word mandatory because I've only got 6 hours left today. But I think it needs to be in some way, and in the private sector, it is mandatory. Those specific trainings are mandatory so that the employees are on the same page.
One other comment I'd like to see is a communication if we all lost electricity. In this, if we are, it became a climate committee, you've already thought of this, but it becomes blatant that if we can't communicate by email and phone, we are lost. And so if this, in particular, if this building loses electricity, it's gonna be very, very difficult.
We've discussed that. I asked if we had code red or anything along those lines because unfortunately, we don't issue all staff county cell phones. And so in order to utilize a function like that, where we would have to communicate via cell phone, we would need everyone's cell phone numbers, and that's not something we have. When we do have a new personnel management system, there are capabilities in a lot of those to send out mass messages. And so that's something we can work towards as well, but it does make it difficult when not everyone has a cell phone or not everyone wants to share their personal cell phone number. That does present a challenge.
Or do they change providers?
We can try to work through that and do the best that we can. But if people are utilizing if we get the new system that has the app and has the communication capability, that would give us yet another tool that we could use to communicate out to everybody when we do have those instances.
We have a panic button in each office, don't we? That's called you guys.
The electrical?
Well,
And they check them. They check them. I've seen them many times already.
They're bad.
Dispatch is on generators, and those are battery operated, so they will communicate with dispatch regardless of power.
That's good.
Because where I'm going
As long
with
as
it,
the generators.
where I was going with it is if somebody pushes a panic button in an office, then every office should be notified, not just the sheriff.
Just us.
Well, it's time to.
They'll see us running, that'll be their notification.
Right.
HHS has a different, called ePanic. And if they're, they'll push the button. All the supervisors, we don't have all staff, but all supervisors, or management staff are involved. That's within their. So there are different systems. 10 to go back. Oh, okay.
Okay, anything else from you, Jared?
Yeah, just a couple of things. So the GIS grant. Richland County was awarded the GIS grant. Grant amount. Here. The grant amount from the state, $100,070.15. Richland County's match to that was $5,266.85. It was equipment, hardware, software for GIS, NG 911 specific training, contractual services for GIS services was included in that. So that came through. Unfortunately, we did not get the PSAP application, the PSAP grant. So I have some parting thoughts that I'll put in an email sent to you and Aaron and Candace about next year's. You have access to the folder. So talked to Barb earlier, everything should be in there now. Everything that I had was placed in there, but all the reporting, all the supporting documentation, everything's in there to finish out both the fiscal year 23 grants and then your fiscal 24 grants. And I believe that we will probably receive a turn down letter for the AMG grant. So there was.
That's for the subscriber equipment?
Yep, so there was $324 million set aside with approximately estimated 2,000 applicants. They had 1,708 applicants, and all that money has been earmarked. So they'll continue to do their awards, but we have not received official notice that we won't get it. But all the money has been allocated as far as I can see on their site.
But we think we still have time to apply for that for next year.
Yes.
Because there's still time. I mean, our towers
Yeah,
are
next
up.
grant will probably, this year it opened up, I think it was like February 1st or 2nd, is when you had to have the
So
application.
we should be
done.
able to apply again and maybe we'll.
Yeah, just take, the only thing you'd have to change, obviously, we'll see what departments wanted to participate. I would imagine it's, upstate votes, you're good. Maybe,
Right. I mean, I'm assuming if we get a turn down letter that sometimes they actually offer, you didn't get funded because, like, have you gotten any insight when you've gotten turned downs on any of these grants? No?
on these, they typically just say,
We ran out of funds.
yeah, thank you. If it doesn't hit score, you get an immediate, before they even make an announcement, you get an immediate back saying your application didn't meet the criteria.
Minimum score. Yeah.
So
Okay.
we did not get that. So if making it this far is still encouraging, and you still do have time. When's the go live with the radios?
December 2024.
So it would be right around the right time
Yeah.
to get awarded. Because some people have been awarded months ago already, right? There was first
Yeah,
round,
back in-
second.
So, August, September?
Yeah, so I think the timing would still be okay. So I think we should definitely, so who will submit that grant? Someone from your department, Aaron, maybe?
Yeah, I think we could probably,
Well, it's gotta be an ambulance or fire department.
so
Oh,
So,
can't be me then.
so who's that gonna
We
be?
could ask Richland Fire Department House that they've done this.
yeah, they can. You lose a little bit of your, continuity over it, because you.
Well, can we help? Can it be submitted through our ambulance?
Yeah, we did this last time.
Right, so can we just help
Sure.
Amber
Yeah.
do it? Like if we could have Aaron's pretty familiar with grants, right?
Yeah.
And I just want to make sure that she's not trying to do it by herself, because that would be,
No, it was 3 of us. Cody Lair, one of the full timers, he helped with it. Amber, myself, John, so,
all right, so I would say let's submit it through our ambulance. That makes the most sense, as long as the staff's okay with that.
I think Amber is planning on it,
Okay,
just because there's.
Okay. awesome.
And we will support that. So, anyway.
Yeah, reached out to the departments, just talking to them how critical it is to get their information, because, I mean, Barb knows that I've experienced it, you have too, they have this need, and they'll.
Right, but then they won't actually do the effort.
person to get upset with you, but when you need the information to try to help them fill the need, then you can't get it from them, so.
Right.
we had 11 departments overall that submitted last time for the grants.
Yeah, I think, let's make sure we don't drop the ball on that one.
And so then final, I don't know if you mentioned it, Melissa, or if Commissioner Pesh did, but I've offered to give 2 hours a week to support transition in the office. I think that'll be Friday afternoons, up until the point where the position's filled. So as to not, I don't want to see anything drop through the cracks, you know. I spent a long time here. I still care about what goes on and I still live here, so we're not continuing to help with that capacity, so. Amber will be taking over interim ambulance, John will be doing interim emergency management. I think his role is going to be to support the sheriff and the county administrator. If something were to happen, but, you know, I think things are in place.
I mean, if we did have a major emergency, is that responding to something like that, is that part of your regional duties?
That's a
If
request
you're
of a
called
sheriff,
in?
a county administrator.
Right. So if we had something catastrophic, God forbid, but if we had something catastrophic happen, you would still be available to us and it would be legitimate, like we wouldn't be asking you to do something that's outside the realm of your
No, it's
duties.
within the job.
Okay. All right. Well, we are gonna miss you.
And it's been
Bye.
awesome time, awesome career.
How many years?
It'd be 19, it would have been 19 years in April, so about 18 and a half years as the emergency management director, 26 going on 27 with the service.
Were you the first emergency management director here?
No, the first one under, when it went from civil defense to emergency government would have been foreign file.
Okay.
So I'm the fourth under that. Under that title. Before that, it was the sheriff. Was in charge of civil defense. So.
Just. All right. Anything else from you? Sorry, well, thank you so much for everything you do for us. It's, we are going to miss you for sure. Okay, so I think that brings us to opening the slot bids.
So
You got one?
we got one, came in late this morning,
Oh,
so, but we only got one. So Philback responded as per usual. Was advertised on, I believe, Facebook and our website
mhm.
and the
Observer.
local paper, yep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I requested 4 bids for 4 different specs. I did 2 different pickups and what would be a Durango, kind of more in an administrative configuration, and a Durango in a patrol vehicles squad configuration.
So you mentioned the administrative vehicles you were thinking about last month. So you just got a new one.
I just got
You're talking about for Aaron and,
Aaron and Mike. So,
okay.
and I guess to kind of going back to when we were talking about canines, Mike is leaning towards retiring canine Rambo this coming summer. He'll turn 10 years old in July. So, with that, we would transition Mike out of the canine car
Okay.
and, hopefully, select a new handler who would then get that car, pending us getting another canine.
Second dog.
I'd like to keep 2 going.
2 dogs?
That's kind of been my goal since we got the money for Aaron and we got him while Rambo was still, and the idea would be is we'd get one started, work the kinks out, and then we get another one. And so we're never in a gap without one.
Right.
So
Because these dogs, 10 years is kind of pushing it, isn't it?
10 years, I think, is pretty common.
Okay.
Some of them push them further. With pushing them further, you end up running into where joint problems or other health issues.
The bigger dogs, yeah.
Yeah. So 10 years is pretty common for a retirement
And I
age.
assume that he will stay with his handler as he
Yes.
retires and
Yep.
live out his happy life.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yep. I imagine he'll probably still be a regular visitor to the office in retirement because
He's used to that.
he's used to that, but
Staying at home would be very boring.
yes. For sure, looking for a admin vehicle for Mike. There is the job description for the jail administrator. Talk about whether we give the jail administrator a new car to start with, or patrol vehicles, if you look at the monthly mileage, which isn't in the folder this year for you to see, Aaron's been out this week. But patrol vehicles we're actually sitting pretty good on. So mileage wise, I think we've gotten to that point now where we're.
So we're
updated
actually
our fleet.
considering two, and if they're admin, they would not need the same equipment as
Correct.
if it's
So it'd
a
be
patrol
significantly
car.
cheaper build out than the patrol vehicles.
So then the capital, we wouldn't spend all of our capital money and it would be available for some other project.
I guess I didn't realize you were gonna provide the car for the jail.
I think it was in the job description. Let's double check that.
I was gonna say, because it's not terrible.
It's, I would say probably split. But in the state, it's probably split.
Well, it's a little bit weird because the jail people don't have take-home cars. Only the road deputies do, too, I
And
suppose.
we're
Yeah.
not expecting it to be a licensed position.
It is.
You are expecting them to be licensed?
Yes, it's road as a certified law enforcement officer.
We
Because
can talk.
it's gonna have a security component as well. So.
With the courthouse, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's I mean, kind of, in a sense, they'll be in charge of the security side of the sheriff's office, the jail, court security, transports. That's gonna fall under that position. Whereas Mike has patrol, he has the patrol side. They're gonna be in charge of arranging court security, arranging transports, and the jail administration position.
We're probably a little off topic.
Yes,
so-
we are.
So right now, do you know what you're asking, what you're looking for? So you got why don't you tell us what the bids are first?
So the bids are for a 2024 F-150, 46,465. And so the two pickups are not squad. They're not squad packages or police utility packages. They are
Road.
consumer vehicles.
Okay,
That, because we can't build out, they won't let us build out those right now. Or when I built the specs, it was not an option. The Ram 1500 pickup was 47,385. The Durango Pursuit, so this is an actual designated police vehicle. But we spec'd it to basically look like a civilian vehicle. It doesn't have the spotlight. It's got the chrome package where it looks like any other vehicle. It doesn't have the steel wheels. It's got alloy wheels. That was 41,623.
wow. Seems a pickup? That's interesting.
And I did spec out, like I said, a patrol vehicle because I wasn't quite sure what direction we'd go. And that was 41,155.
That's another Durango?
That's another Durango, and it's a spotlight, steel wheels, looks like a squad car.
And how much was that one?
41,155.
The Durangos, how are they holding up in the pool we have already?
Right now, they seem to be the best performing vehicles we have. I mean, my truck I've had zero issues with my truck. The F-150s we have been pretty reliable. The new Explorers are hit or miss. We've
Well,
been,
that's good though, because we were concerned about the Durangos.
yeah,
We'd heard from other departments that there might be a whatever concern, so that's good that it's not.
and no reason why I didn't spec Explorers except for they weren't available.
Right,
So,
right. They closed it, right?
yeah, they closed it
out.
already.
Yeah. Okay, so what are you asking from us?
Well, I guess I'm asking your thoughts. Like I said, building out as admin vehicles, cost is significantly cheaper. but the cost of the pickups is more expensive themselves.
So you don't think it would be better to take one of our higher mileage vehicles and give it to admin and then put a new road car on instead? I mean, presumably admin's not gonna be putting on as many miles, right?
We don't.
Yeah, so
I mean-
you don't think that that makes more sense than that it would be better to replace one of the higher mileage road vehicles? And they'd still be pretty low miles, because like you said, we're in
Yeah.
pretty good shape.
I guess we don't
We'd have to pay the package, so we would spend more money.
really have currently like a low mile or a
High mile.
high mile patrol vehicle. The Charger is probably the highest, and I don't know what that is up top.
Does anyone else feel weird about spending a lot of money on an admin vehicle? And would I rather spend it on a patrol and then give the,
Other organizations I'm involved with do it like what you're suggesting, that.
I'm sorry,
priority
this feels a little
goes
weird.
to the Most use of the vehicle, and then as it gets older, it goes to.
The ones that use it
the office.
less, right? I'm just worried that, I mean, we've done pretty well providing everyone a take-home vehicle, and we've shifted the mindset. I mean, because we all struggled with that a lot.
Yeah.
I don't want to, does it feel, is greedy the right word? It's not the right word, but you know what I mean? Like, it just feels a little,
Well, I mean, the other
yeah.
side of that is too, I mean, we're gonna run out our admin vehicles longer because we aren't putting miles on them, so they're gonna last us longer.
So you'd only be buying them every 5 years or 8
Well,
years or something?
I think we're only gonna be, my thought is we're gonna probably be replacing patrol vehicles every 5 to 6 years. So.
But we're finally getting to that point
Yeah,
where we aren't
we're
gonna
finally
have
getting to that point.
where we don't have to replace them every year.
Yeah.
That would be refreshing.
Yes.
That would be very refreshing.
I mean, granted, we're probably still gonna be buying a couple a year,
I wish we knew the
maybe
mileage.
one a year, some years, but
So you don't know what the highest mileage patrol
I
vehicles
can go
we have
back to
right
the
now?
last month and base it off of that.
Your thoughts,
I'm
Administrator?
just going by what you hear around town, like with the city, like utilities and that, you'll see the office people driving around in a new vehicle. And I've never heard anybody out in town say anything positive about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
And the perception is there, and I mean, my thing too is, this is the sheriff's budget is one of our larger budgets.
And it went up
It went up
significantly,
this year already.
37%.
And, the optics, that's always there.
It is.
Is there a way that initially, at least, we could, utilize an older vehicle and then work on budgeting for something else in the future, or evaluating a rotation schedule? In my prior role, we kind of had it so that we had all of the vehicles were kind of rotated in and out, working with Public Works. Doesn't have to be Public Works, it can be any department, but everything was on kind of a rotation schedule where they figured out the exact best time to make trades or to exchange leased vehicles to get the maximum benefit of the vehicle and the maximum trade value. And, do we maybe need to evaluate, are we doing that? Are we,
We haven't been trading anything, right? We've been running them until they.
So, and that's, I guess it's an important conversation to have, is what we've been doing is we've been giving our squads to other departments. So, and I don't see that really changing for the foreseeable future. Do I think it's the best use financially? I guess I have mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
Because like, take my truck, for example. We could run my truck to fillbacks,
You could trade it in.
and I don't know if trade-in is the best route, but my truck will still be pretty valuable when I'm done with it. Unless I run it to the ground like we've done historically.
Right.
So,
Coming up with a schedule does seem like what you're talking about does seem like it
Yeah.
makes sense.
so in like this Durango that I'm talking about, and I'm not even necessarily asking for the trucks. I think my people would like the trucks. I don't necessarily think they're necessary, or they're even as useful sometimes as the SUVs are because of the enclosed cargo space. But like, that's the squad I spec'd for the admin vehicle, the Durango I did. It's like a regular vehicle. Instead of a Durango, which would have a third row seat, mine just has a big open area where that third row seat would have been. But it has a center console, it has all that stuff, so a fillback or even us on auction could take that, sell that, and it's probably gonna fetch a decent price because it's not like a dumbed down fleet vehicle. Kinda is, but it's not. So that's one of the things I've been wrestling, because I want to support the rest of the departments the way we have been with handing down our old squads, because I think that's important as well.
Yeah, there's a
I
number of
think
departments that can't afford.
We're missing out on potentially bringing money back when cars are at a decent mileage and still have some value.
We are, yeah.
So it's
But that seems like a bigger
bigger,
conversation.
probably a bigger.
Yeah.
So I guess my recommendation was still that we would purchase the vehicles. If we want to have a discussion further about the jail administrator position, we can. Depending on the outcome of that, maybe we don't need to. But, or we buy two and we buy one admin and one patrol vehicle.
So didn't you say that the Durango, the first Durango, the 41,623, didn't you say that that one was road police, was the police package?
So they're
One?
both police package.
They are both,
One
okay.
is one I spec with the spotlight, no center console, like ready to be built out.
As a police
Yeah.
patrol, okay.
The other one is spec'd out with no spotlight, center console, somewhat normal looking appearance package. So
Okay.
it kind of.
But it was only like $500 difference.
Yeah, there's. And then, yeah. So initially, my thought kind of was is we'd replace the patrol vehicle, so I'm trying to go through the list here now, and the way this page is broke down, it's kind of hard to. So probably that's actually gonna be in service once we get the new cars.
Because we have two more that are just getting, are they finally on the road or did they get their equipment put in on?
They're,
Last month you said they were.
one of
getting-
them is done, waiting to be picked up, and the other one should be finished up this week. or
So we have
next.
two new ones coming in right now
Yep.
from last year.
Yeah, so we're replacing 12, which has about 108, probably 110,000 miles on it, maybe 112.
Okay.
And where was it? It's one of the old Explorers is getting replaced as well. I'm trying to figure out which one it is.
And that's with the two we already have.
That's with the two that are just getting finished up.
Right. So then the next two highest would be what?
Would be,
Miles would be what?
I'm trying to eliminate the ones that I know are not in service right now that are still on the list. One of them, which Darren's working on right now, so, probably 78,000 miles. And that might be,
And the next one, the next lowest one and the highest one?
76,000.
So admin would be getting vehicles that are in the 70s. 70,000 miles or so. If we,
Yeah.
if we had you guys take the two highest. I mean, that is still pretty high miles, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, and so, like, Aaron doesn't need one. He's got 5,000 miles on his as of October.
Okay,
And
and Mike is still in a K9.
Mike is still in the K9 until June, July, probably.
So,
Part of the reason too, with the, the Durango that I spec'd out, that's just like any other Durango, is Mike does have an investigations component to his job, and his need to somewhat conceal is important. So
Conceal,
as in drug investigations and not standing out.
you mean his vehicle?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about him. I'm like,
Yeah.
so if he was gonna have a vehicle, or like if he needed a vehicle that was not a canine vehicle, he would want one that's more disguised, is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
It would be important in my mind that he is in a vehicle.
That looks like just a
didn't look like
vehicle.
a stripped out squad car. Yeah.
So, because you're looking to go ahead and spend the capital money that we just borrowed, right? I mean, you looked at,
Yes.
right now, so you're looking for us to make a decision as to what you can buy today? Correct?
Unless you're not comfortable making that decision.
At committee?
We have the bid, so it's not gonna go away.
Right. I mean, I guess hearing your rationale for Mike's vehicle, I can potentially see that one wanting to have a vehicle that looks like just a regular car
Mhm.
for him. I can see that logic. But for the other one, so maybe we compromise and we do one that would be admin and one that would be
We could, yeah.
potentially road patrol. And then if the jail administrator needs a vehicle, he or she could take one of the retired
Retired cars.
road patrol. Does that seem like a reasonable compromise?
Because I guess my other fear was, I said we could wait. My other fear would be is Dodge closes.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't want to do that either. Because look how long it's taken us to get the 23 vehicles. We're
Yeah.
just getting them now and it's November.
Yeah.
And we started this process last December. So I don't want to muck around with that, but.
So you're talking about getting one.
So we'd get one Durango.
Two Durangos.
Yeah, we'd get one each of the Durangos, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you kind of talked yourself out of the truck by saying that you don't think they need the truck. So we're going to just,
I'm trying to be I'm trying to be realistic. They are more expensive. Just because we're borrowing money doesn't mean we should
spend it
spend it.
if we don't need it.
Okay.
And if the Durangos are turning out to be reliable vehicles and they're, having an enclosed back, I think, especially with like Mike, I'm sure he probably has to deal with evidence and things like that that you want locked in a back,
Yeah.
whatever, so. All right, so I would entertain a motion.
That the Sheriff be authorized to purchase one Durango squad and one Durango
Unmarked,
admin. or
unmarked, whatever you want to call it.
Civilian.
All right, I have a motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion on that? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, you have your. All right, that brings us to radio tower project updates.
Mike, do you want to go ahead?
Good morning.
Keep the volume sound a little bit too low now. Dave and Barb sounded really quiet there.
Am I coming through?
Yeah, hold on a second. We're gonna turn you up a little bit.
Okay. How's that?
Oh, that's better.
I'll continue to talk. Maybe I'll just start with a question. Just wanted to be sure if I understood that folks had received the monthly update that I created this week. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at that.
I have not seen it.
Okay.
Put it up there?
It's in the packet. No, we put it up yesterday.
I'm in the packet and I don't see it.
Okay. So, yep, I saw it was on there, so I double checked.
I told him.
Public safety,
So anytime after that.
I mean, I'm just gonna reload it just. 'cause-
No, that's fine.
Yeah, just summarizing, I guess,
If you put your thing out, you can go right to it.
Oh, yeah, now it's 31 pages. It was 8 pages before. Okay. Oh, and now his thing is in there. Okay, go ahead, Mike. Sorry, we're just figuring
No,
out
you're-
where things are.
you're good. I guess kind of the summary of, what we worked on, this past month, really the main focus has been the system design, kind of maximizing that design, and I think we've certainly found a few things and made some adjustments. I think we have a great understanding of what the potential possibilities are. Unfortunately, we did have some sites, I guess, that we would like to be able to use, but we've gotten turned down a little bit from landowners, and so in some locations we've ran out of adjustments. But along with that, like I said, I think we have a great understanding of what the system design is capable of and where adjustments could be made. For everyone's benefit, I guess that's, still looking at that 9-site design. And so if you look at the layout there, it kind of lists the locations, but I know that we've gotten to, at least for my comfort level, I think we've just maximized the overall coverage. I know we are slightly under the county's team's goal of in-building coverage, and at all aspects of looking at different options. It's just challenging to get over that final hurdle. But again, I think we have gotten as much as we can out of our 9 sites, and really are kind of up against a timeline and concerns about weather coming in and getting some engineering work done. So it's really gotten to a point where we've got to kind of lock in, and I think that's even shown in some of the decisions to potentially, if we can't get some of these locations to move back and go on with some of our initial thoughts of sites. But specifically, I guess some of the changes are, I guess, well, let's start with some good news, I guess. Also through this last month, we've really gotten over the hurdle with United States Cellular and the 3 towers there. We've got those applications in. We've got it to the extent where essentially everything's in U.S. Cellular's hands to do the structural analysis, and we've told them what we're going to be putting on those towers, and they're going to engineer those towers and tell us if there's any challenges there. So in reality, that those 3 sites for U.S. Cellular are really at the point where we're just waiting to hear some feedback from them here in the next, hopefully this month, I would think. So that's more the good news, and I guess along with as far as sites and maybe some bad news, one of our sites, I think we really were hoping to get the Gotham site. We had an initial site down in the valley. We had previously looked at being up on the hill. One of the bluffs had an old quarry up there. It did pay dividends in the neighboring valley that we were not able to get being down in the valley, and so we explored that, and I think came up against a landowner there that is just hesitant to give us a quick go ahead. So that's one of the locations that added a point or two to the overall coverage that it gave us a little better feel for the overall. And so that's one of our disappointments, and probably another area, one of our biggest challenges right now is down on the southwest side of the county, and there we've got a couple of options, but again, we've been exploring that Westport area mostly for civil costs. There's just not a real good civil option there where we can get like right off of a road, and so that's really probably I would say our last straggler. And the sheriff, I think, paid a visit to that area yesterday with engineering firm from Edge, and so we'll have to make a decision there on kind of the least costly avenue to go there. So otherwise, I think most of our sites are pretty well locked in at this point, and we're going to be we've already even got it scheduled, but we're trying to obviously squeeze in our last outdoor engineering work ahead of any weather concerns, and as they pointed out too, even some concerns about being out in the field when there's hunting going on. So we do have them on the schedule, and if everything holds up, we'll be trying to finalize all that outdoor engineering work here in the next few weeks. So kind of where we stand with everything, and then of course, I guess finally with the radio vendor, really, I guess another piece of good news is, throughout this process, as we've looked at different sites, we just have not had any concerns from them as far as impacting to the contract on their end, and so they're really at a point where as we finalize the design is ready for a signature and moving past that next step and giving them kind of permission to go about ordering some additional equipment and doing some of the licensing work. So I guess that's probably in summary. I think we're definitely still concerned about timelines and budgets, and that's probably holding to where we've been. Our goal would be to get our civil pieces to the next step, and then look to try and get that bid released. Probably even get it finalized here by the end of the month of November, and get that out on the streets so that we can understand that final piece of civil construction, at least to an extent that we feel more confident that we're got some firm numbers as opposed to budget numbers. So otherwise.
All right, anyone have any questions? Mr. Severson?
How much longer do we have to spend the money?
December 2024.
24.
She's got one more year. Do you
One
think
year.
that we'll be able to meet that?
Mike, do you think we'll be able to meet our 1 year?
I do. I still feel confident. We're gonna probably use some techniques to try and push things along. But I still feel confident. We really want to get the civil firm on under contract here at the first quarter of the year, and then from there building towers and ordering equipment. Is timelines have shortened up a lot than what they were a year or two ago. So I don't think we have any challenges. And I guess I heard it earlier, the conversation about the subscriber units, and keep in mind we do have the ability in this design to run these channels. We were anticipating running them at under digital operation, but as a fallback, we could always run one of them or all of them under analog operation. But probably a recommendation would be if you had a challenge with maybe fire subscribers or something, that you could run those analog and then be able to kind of give yourself a little more timeline in implementing subscriber units too.
Well, yeah, we'll apply for that grant again and see if we have any success and see what happens. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
that brings us to mapping, radio system and SWOT updates. I think we can kind of all hammer those away. Yeah. So future agenda items. So just so the committee is aware, next month we need to do our jail inspection. So we will be doing a closed session at the end of the meeting, assuming I have enough people. And he will be in Florida, so he will not. So Barb, are you gonna be at the in person at the December meeting? And can you guys be at the December meeting in person?
You know, at this point, I can't say for sure that we will be. I'll know more in a week, so I'll let you know.
Okay, because I will need 4 people physically present for that in order to do that inspection. So I'll check your emails. I'll be checking in with you in the next few weeks to make sure that we can get that scheduled. So that would be a future agenda item. And then the alarm ordinance that you talked about last month, because you didn't send us your version, I'm assuming that you'll send that to us when you want that on the agenda?
Yeah, that has been kind of Chief Deputy Wallace's baby.
Okay.
And he was not going to be available to speak to it today, so he asked that we keep it off.
Okay, and so my understanding from the meeting was that he was gonna modify it to what you guys are actually intending, not just a one that you got from somewhere else,
Yeah.
and send that to us before, okay.
Yep.
All right, so then you just put that on there whenever you want to. And then, ordinance 89.7 has to be modified before you can hire a jail administrator. Because it's not in there as a position, right?
Yeah.
So we do need to figure out a time when we can, and I'm assuming you guys are gonna try to recruit for that right away in January, is that the plan?
I honestly, the discussion we've been having is, and I'll talk with Candace about it as well, but, we got our comp class back for it.
I guess we can't really discuss it, can we?
Yeah, we know, I
Right,
guess we know it's budgeted for. We
Right.
start early.
So my point being 89.7 has to be updated before you can actually, I mean, it should be, because we know that it's not in there. So I don't know if, I don't want to do it at the same time we have to go and inspect the jail, because that makes already for a long meeting. So I don't know how people feel about just having a meeting where we just finish. And part of the complication with 89.7, which I guess we can't discuss it, because it's not on the agenda.
It needs to be updated, and we need to probably do a special meeting for it.
Yeah, that's all I can say, I guess, because I shouldn't go into detail. It's just that we did our codification, and it doesn't look like the old ordinance. So I think what we're gonna do is modify the new ordinance. The old ordinance, and then we'll just figure out how to make it fit into the codification stuff. So I don't know how people feel about, we could do it. I don't know, you tell me. Can we have another meeting in December? Do you want to have a meeting in November? Think we could do it in an hour? Think we could finish it in an hour? We got about halfway last time.
My brain is trained for Friday mornings, so
I don't know how Carrie, how are you up? Have you been up all night?
No,
Oh. So we're not messing up your schedule, or we are messing up your schedule?
jail inspection only will fall on the day that I got to go to work.
That will
Be
mess
all
things
that-
up.
December 1st.
Yeah.
The last time it took us about an hour to do the jail inspection. And if we keep the rest of the agenda fairly minimal.
It
Um,
would be, yeah, I'm out of here at noon.
I think we could definitely be out by noon. I don't think
Get
we've
like
ever gone
3-4
past.
hours of sleep for 5 hours.
Okay.
Are you talking about doing it all together?
Well, I don't want to, because that would make for a long day. If we try to do the inspection and for Carrie, especially if Carrie's got to get some
Well,
sleep
you know what?
for work.
I think that's better than trying to pick out another day. I'd rather do, I guess, a longer meeting. I've sat through some HHS meetings.
I guess I could potentially ask that we not get updates from the circuit court, probate, DA. And emergency management, we're not gonna have an update because there won't be anyone in the position. So I could potentially ask that they not give us updates in December so that, or it's a abbreviated version of it, just so that we have time to do that and the jail inspection. I could ask them.
I like
for
that plan.
And then we could try, so our goal would be to be done before noon. An 8:30 meeting till, I hope we're done by then.
I would think we could be.
If everybody's reads before they get there, if you read the ordinance and you're ready to go with any questions and you guys have all the things that you want changed, ready to go, it should be fairly efficient.
Okay.
Okay, is that what it is? Okay.
First Friday.
Yeah, and I'll try to make sure that Bob's gonna physically be here since Barb and,
I'll be.
okay. Yeah, we need Bob. And Dave, maybe Dave could be here physically, but I don't know if he's been physically in a meeting in a while, but. Okay, so that brings us to adjournment.
Oh, we gotta let Carrie in.
Yeah, I gotta like carry at least one. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? All right, we're adjourned. So Amber, I was going through, just trying to like